Welcome to This Explainer. We're diving straight into the absolute most high-stakes race in global football right now, the 2026 Ballon d'Or. It's the ultimate prize, and honestly, this year the battle is fiercer than we've seen in a long time. We're going to break down the data, the shifting rules, and the standout performances that are completely defining this year's race for football's biggest honor. So with the North American World Cup in full swing, literally everyone is asking the exact same question. Who's going to claim that ultimate individual prize on October 26th in London? You know, this is the 70th edition of the award, which adds an incredible layer of historical weight to the whole ceremony. Plus, it's the first time it's ever been hosted in England, honoring the legendary Sir Stanley Matthews. The tension is palpable. And as history shows us, summer tournaments possess this massive gravity when it comes to deciding the winner. These players aren't just fighting for a trophy, they're fighting for football immortality. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the change in golden rules, profile the living legends, explore the French connection, highlight a teenage phenom, and finally, wrap it all up with a final prediction.
First up, Section 1, changing the golden rules and the brand new criteria.
Okay, so here's the deal. The 100 journalists casting their votes will now judge players heavily on high-stakes performances. Why the sudden shift? Well, frankly, there was a lot of growing voter fatigue. People were getting tired of seeing players win simply by stat padding against weaker domestic teams in blowout games. The football world demanded a change, and they got it. Now the Ballon d'Or is deliberately moving away from raw, unfiltered statistics. The jury is specifically instructed to look for big game impact, leadership under immense pressure, and fair play. They want to see who delivers when the lights are absolutely the brightest. And because the voting window closes shortly after the World Cup final on July 19th, this global tournament is expected to be the ultimate defining factor of the entire voting process.
Football betting expert Jake Ashton really hits the nail on the head here. He points out that in World Cup years, the market becomes heavily tournament-driven. A phenomenal club season from the autumn and spring? Sure, that gets your name on the shortlist. You absolutely need that foundation. But a great World Cup? That's what actually wins you the vote. It's the final, most vivid memory etched into the voters' minds before they cast their ballots. It's the ultimate recency bias, but performed on the hardest stage imaginable.
Moving right along to Section 2, the living legends, Kane and Messi.
All right, just think about this number for a second. 61. England captain Harry Kane bagged a ridiculous 61 goals across 51 games for Bayern Munich this season. Think about the level of difficulty here. Moving to a new country, stepping into the massive shoes left by past Bayern legends, and performing like this in a debut season? It's staggering. In doing so, he became the fastest player this century to reach 100 goals for a club playing in one of Europe's top 5 leagues. He did it in just 104 games. He is modern football's answer to the complete forward, dropping deep to orchestrate play while still securing the European Golden Shoe.
So Kane completely dominated domestically, winning the Bundesliga and the DFB Pokal. But could he translate that dominance to the World Cup? Absolutely he could. He hit the ground running with a brilliant brace in England's opening match against Croatia. He is literally carrying the weight of a nation desperate to end a decades-long trophy drought. If Kane captures another World Cup Golden Boot and leads England deep into the tournament, he's positioning himself perfectly to potentially be the first English Ballon d'Or winner since Michael Owen all the way back in 2001.
But, you can simply never, ever count out Lionel Messi. His longevity is just awe-inspiring. He's an 8-time winner, now playing in his record-breaking 6th World Cup. And despite playing his club football on MLS with Inter Miami, where he did win the MLS Cup, by the way, he just showed up on the global stage and scored a hat-trick against Algeria on his 200th cap. That jaw-dropping performance brings him to 16 all-time World Cup goals, officially equaling Miroslav Klose's legendary record. He's got 5 goals in his first 2 games this tournament. At an age where most players have long retired, the man just remains inevitable.
Section 3, the French connection, Mbappe, Dembélé, and Olise. Check out these implied betting probabilities. Kylian Mbappe is actually the early frontrunner at 2-to-1 odds, which gives him a 33.3% chance of winning. Now this is fascinating because his club, Real Madrid, endured a really rare trophyless season. When you wear that white shirt, the expectation is always hardware, right? Yet his individual pedigree, his sheer talent, and France's undeniable status as a tournament powerhouse keep him right at the top of the list. The market firmly believes his individual brilliance will shine through despite the lack of domestic team success.
Now this is where the internal French rivalry gets incredibly spicy. Mbappe scored 42 goals for Madrid and just became France's all-time top scorer with 59 goals. But wait. Ousmane Dembélé currently sits at number 1 in the Give Me Sport power rankings. Why the discrepancy? Because Dembélé had a club season for the ages. He retained the Champions League with Paris Saint-Germain and made absolute history by becoming the first player ever to score in every single round of the competition. Under Luis Enrique, Dembélé has found this level of consistency and ruthlessness that has totally reshaped his career narrative.
And Dembélé packed that elite club form and brought it straight to North America. The guy scored an unbelievable 32-minute first-half hat-trick against Norway. And get this, 2 of those goals were actually assisted by Mbappé. It's like this spectacular high-stakes race between teammates. They're working perfectly together to push France forward, while simultaneously battling each other for the sport's highest individual honor. Dembélé is making a massive case to retain his Ballon d'Or, something nobody has done since Messi in 2021. But Mbappé is fighting right back with 4 goals of his own in his opening 2 World Cup games.
Section 4. The Teenage Phenom, Lamine Yamal. At just 18 years old, Lamine Yamal quite literally put Barcelona on his back. He finished the club season with 24 goals, 18 assists, and a hard-fought La Liga title. Stepping into the spotlight at a club with that much pressure is immense, but Yamal handled it effortlessly. And despite a late-season hamstring injury that threatened to derail his whole summer, he is back at the World Cup. He made a cameo against Cape Verde and then scored in a dominant 4-0 win over Saudi Arabia. Just think about that for a second. At an age where most players are just hoping to make a senior squad, he is trying to drive Spain to glory and become the first teenage Ballon d'Or winner in the 70-year history of the sport.
And finally, Section 5, the final prediction. Who actually takes the crown?
So, when we put this whole high-stakes race side by side, we see that everyone has a totally legitimate claim here. Dembélé's got the best club silverware with that historic Champions League run and unprecedented scoring streak. Kane has the sheer undeniable numerical dominance with those 61 goals in Germany. Yamal has the amazing narrative of youth, a La Liga title, and a brilliant injury comeback. And then you have Mbappé and Messi out there producing historical, logic-defying World Cup magic right before our eyes, proving that their individual brilliance can just completely take over a tournament.
So, it really all boils down to this. Under the new rules prioritizing big game impact, does a World Cup trophy completely erase a quiet domestic season? Because if France goes all the way and lifts the trophy on July 19th, Mbappé's international heroics and sheer volume of goals might just eclipse Dembélé's club trophies. The exact same goes for Harry Kane. If England wins it all, his 61 goals paired with a World Cup make him undeniably the favorite. It all hinges on who steps up under the absolute brightest, most unforgiving lights of this tournament. Basically, every single match from here on out acts as a direct, live audition for the Ballon d'Or voters.
Based on everything we've broken down in this explainer, the new big game criteria, Kane's relentless scoring, Dembélé's European dominance, Yamal's prodigy status, and the sheer World Cup brilliance of Mbappé and Messi, who do you think will ultimately take home the crown? The winner is writing their legacy on the pitch as we speak. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Keep your eyes closely on the rest of the tournament, and I'll see you in the next one.